back to my channel today, and we are doing a brand new Sims 4 shell challenge. And so today I'm going to be attempting to do NowInTechnicolor's spooky shell challenge. And I kid you not, I really love spooky shell challenges because they get me in the mood of October, Halloween, abandon, run down, a bunch of clutter I can use. So this is definitely up my alley. And if you do not know who NowInTechnicolor is, she's a good friend of mine, but also an amazing Twitch streamer that you all should go follow. And here are the 3 reasons why you should go follow her on Twitch. 1, she loves the color yellow. 2, she's very kind and an amazing person that you will forever love to meet. And 3, she just loves doing creative builds and interacting with her community every single time she streams on Twitch. So if you want to go follow her, I will leave her Twitch link and her Twitter link down below in the description for you to go check out. But she created this shell challenge not too long ago, and I wanted to see what I could definitely do with it because, you know, spooky, spoofy, it's up my alley. But I thought it'd be kind of a good way to try it out since, you know, Halloween is around the corner, and also shell challenges are always fun to do. But this is technically the shell, and this is what it looks like. And to be honest, it doesn't look that bad. And I was a little bit concerned because I did this shell challenge like 3 weeks ago before it was due, and I was looking at it thinking to myself, what could I do with the roofing? How am I going to make this look, you know, interesting for my build, for the gallery, but also for a thumbnail? Because I was so concerned on how it was going to look that I didn't really pay attention on the roofing part of the build. But lo and behold, it doesn't look that bad. So if you want to try it for yourself, you can definitely go check it out. Her origin ID is just linked down below in the description along with her links to her Twitter and Twitch. But that being said, let's go ahead and actually hop into the speed build. So now that we're in the speed build portion of this video, I wanted to say that this build probably took me a good solid 3, maybe 4.5 hours to do in a span of like 4 days, because I kid you not, I spent the majority of my time on the exterior design rather than the interior design of this build because the theme around this was spooky. And I knew for a fact that when it comes to spooky, the exterior has to look like quote unquote ugly, where it's like run down, a bunch of items all scrunched up together, sized down, sized up, all the different things that make a spooky build spooky. And I had the most fun doing the exterior because ever since we got the Journey to Batu game pack not too long ago, it allowed me to kind of test the waters with the new items, with debug, and also the build and buy items as well to see what I could come up with, whether putting them together or separating them apart, shrinking them down, turning them lopsided with tools mod, or whatever I had to do to make it look interesting. And if you want to watch the real time or the portion of this build in real time, I will leave a link down below in the description to my second channel, which is more SpringSims, where I re-upload all of my live streams that I do on Twitch. Just in case you don't catch them in real time, I always re-upload them every single day, so you have a lovely place to go watch them back if you so please. But nevertheless, if you want to try out this shell challenge for yourself and see what you can definitely come up with, NowInTechnicolor is an amazing builder and an amazing friend of mine that I think you all should go check out, that I said at the beginning of the video, but her origin ID will be also linked down below in the description, along with her Twitter and her Twitch links to go follow. So for this build, I do have a story for this one, and I wanted to explain why it is the way it is, but before we kind of get into the story and the whole gist of the build, I was going to originally build like a suburban, you know, a rundown suburban home, as I usually end up doing whenever it's like spooky or just not really spooky in general, or I just want to have an excuse to build something abandoned and suburban, and I usually do that all the time. So for this idea is that it is suburban, but it's technically a suburban house in the sky where it has an interesting value to it, where the reason why it is in the sky and why it is still suburban. Like I can probably step out of my comfort zone of suburban builds, but it's all that I know and it's all that I can technically build really well because I live in a suburban area. So it's like I live near suburban houses. It just makes perfect sense. But if you have a challenge, like a build challenge that you want me to like attempt to do, let me know down in the comments below, because I love doing like build challenges or just random challenges in The Sims just for the fun of it, to see what I can definitely come up with, because I think it'd be kind of fun to do for a video and you guys get involved with my content. So I think at this point in time, I was thinking about how I was going to make it work with the new Journey to the 2 pack and also debug. And I don't really remember if either, I don't know if the tool, like the better build and buy mod was working or not. I don't think it was working at the time. So I had to basically close my entire game, take out the mod and re-add it in, or just take it out completely to make it work because I was missing so many items and I'm like, wait a minute, something's not right in this build and buy catalog. I'm missing like my favorite fencing and all like my favorite good build and buy items. So I just had to scrap the whole thing and like redo the whole build. So you can kind of see me scrolling through debug, trying to find like certain items. And if you don't know what debug is, where have you been? Have you been living under a rock? Because debug is a dangerous but an amazing place to be. Like when you think about it, debug really makes your builds look more unique, different, and not really all the same. Because when you look on the gallery, or when I do, I tend to see like some of the same old builds from certain people. Well, not really certain people, just I just see some generic builds and like, where's the flavor? Where's the personality? I need a story behind this build, something that kind of diversifies the gallery even more, because everyone that builds in like in a different way, no one builds the same. And I feel like if you utilize debug maybe even once or twice or a few times, you can really make your builds look extremely amazing with the amount of like items that you could use, like whether you want to use a random post box or a random house that I just placed right there that you just saw. That's in debug. Like you can make literally any build that you want if you use debug. So I'm just saying, debug's a great but dangerous place because you might spend hours on end like I did trying to find the perfect item for a build. So for the idea for this is that I had to technically duplicate the first floor and the second floor of this shell in order to put this like this house in the sky, or like or have it floating in the sky based in like, you know, what's the word? Not tilted, but it's like it's holding on like pillars on the ground, and below it is actually a not so good pond to fish in. Like your Sims can fish in it, but I wouldn't recommend fishing in that pond. It's not really good because I'm in the world of Forgotten Hollow, and it's forgotten for a reason. It's not a great place to live. It's not a great place to be because there are vampires living amongst you. Like you got Caleb and Lilith Bator. You also have Vladimus, that old vampire. But if you didn't know, when I found out Vlad was not an elder, um, I was shocked because he's a young adult. Like Vlad, the crazy vampire that visits your house every single day at night, he's a young adult, but he just wears his, you know, his dark form 24/7, so you just never really know what age he is unless you hover over his body says young adult. But the town description and how I'm going to kind of dive into the story of this build, but the whole world description of this Forgotten Hollow, it says the small town of Forgotten Hollow has remained virtually unchanged for 4 generations it has existed. All of its original town founders disappeared shortly after the town was founded. All except Vladimir Stride. His great-grandson, Vladimir Stride V, still watches over the town to this day. And with the reason why it kind of says that, because Vladimir, he is actually the statue that lives right in like the town square of Forgotten Hollow. That's him. But Vladimir Stride is a very weird child. And he is not the best of eyes to look at. Like, he's not it's not a Sarai. It's not a really good person to look at. Trust me. Crazy. He doesn't really have good babies either. I've tried having kids with him with the 100 baby challenge. Yeah, they don't look so great. But either way, nevertheless, with this build, I have a sim named Mr. Wagner. And Mr. Wagner used to be friends with Vladimir Stride V, who used to be like the original founder of this world amongst living through the people. And Mr. Wagner was like not really the like part of the founders club, but more so of like the engineer, pioneer, you know, miner type of person that would technically, you know, do all things to make sure it works in his favor for the best of the town. And the description of this bill that I had was that this abandoned family home was once owned by Alex Wagner late in the 1930s. After recent events in Forgotten Hollow, the disappearance of the founders by, so and so forth, Mr. Wagner disappeared out of nowhere in the cave. So when the founders were strangely disappeared shortly, Alex Wagner was in the caves during the time where Vladimir Stride V was doing something not so correctly, because he was gonna be lit on fire because he was a vampire. Like back in the early days where people thought, oh no, they just have great skin, they don't live forever. That's crazy. They're not a vampire. No way. Yeah. So one time, Janice Wagner, Alex's late wife, she found Vladimis in his house, heard some screams, and thought to herself, there's no possible way that Vladimis could be a vampire. There's no way. No way. Not at all. And this is like way before, well, this was actually a few years after they built the statue for him, because he was the technical, founder of Forgotten Hollow, or part of it. And when Janice found out that he was a vampire, oh, things just broke loose. Janice was like, that's it, he's a vampire, I knew it. She told the whole town square that Vladimir was a vampire, and Vladimir didn't like that. So late one last night, the next day when she found out, Vladimir said, hey Janice, how's it going? What's going on? How's the husband and kids going? She's like, fine, it's all great. All things are great with Alex and his, his job in the mines and the caves, and doing what he has to do for the better of the town. And Vladimir was like, hey, come up to my house for a cup of tea. She did not return. So that was like the first disappearance of the so-called founders of Forgotten Hollow. One thing led to another. A few days afterwards, Alex was like, where's Janice? What happened? Oh, she, I don't know. She just disappeared randomly. I don't know how that happened. Vladimir was the issue. He disposed of the bodies deep, deep, deep in the caves. So after the fact, all the founders of Forgotten Hollow kind of swarmed near Vladimir's house and saying they were going to burn him alive, including his house, which they didn't do because they all mysteriously disappeared the next day, because they all accused Vladimir being a vampire, which he was. So that's technically what happened. But the one person that wasn't really taken in grasp of Vladimir Stride V was Alex Wagner, because at the time he didn't know zilch nada nothing about vampires, supernatural. He didn't know anything about that. So what had happening is that he was deep, deep, deep in the caves, not where his wife was buried or supposedly disposed. He was just there working as one does in, as a miner in the caves. He was trying to figure out what he could do to improve his home, improve Vladimir's house, but also a few of the new residents that were going to visit Forgotten Hollow eventually in the future. And he didn't really know what to do. So he asked Vladimir, seeing what could he possibly do to improve. And he said, oh, spruce up the town square a little bit, maybe build a house or two, and do that for a while. So he did that for a while, about, a couple of years, and one thing led to another. He had an accident in the caves. And so when he technically found out that his wife Janice was in the caves, or like disposed in the caves, he ran back home to make sure his kids were safe. They were fine. They grew up. And his kids were Caleb and Lilith Fator. They changed their last names later on in their lives to not associate with the Wagner family, to get in trouble by Vladimir Stride, the Stride family. So yeah, Alex Wagner, his kids, Lilith and Caleb Fator, the vampires of Forgotten Hollow that still live till this day. So be aware when I say that they live in this house. They do. They still live in this house till this day, but they are going to basically, like, what's the word? Disguise living as humans. So they still have like that ugly vibe to their house. Like this is like their second house. They live somewhere different, like across the street in Forgotten Hollow, but kind of leave this house just for mementos, family memories, stuff like that. So they think it's abandoned. No one lives here. They can just keep it for, you know, what's like a historical building that they cannot destroy. So they just leave it. But after a few years later, when they found out that Alex Wagner died, the question still stands. Did he die in his home? Or did he die in the caves? Or did Vladimir Stride kill him? We don't know. It's been literally over 80 years, well, actually 1930s, late 1930s, so like the 30s, so 70, it's like 2080. It's almost been 90 years. 90 years since Vladimir Stride V made the entire founders of Forgotten Hollow disappear, but also Alex Wagner of his disappearance. Like, we still don't know. I don't know. No one told me. So I need answers now. Like, when you think about it, Strangerville is a very strange place. I told you a story about that. But also, when you think about Forgotten Hollow, it's forgotten for a reason, because no one remembers. No one has lived to tell the tale about the true disappearance of the founders and Alex Wagner and Janice Wagner as well. Only Liz and Caleb Vittor can tell the tale, but they don't really care to tell the tale because they don't want to die in the hands of Vladimir. So that's kind of like my spiel, my tea to spill of this lovely family. But I mean, what do you all think? Like, do you think Alex Wagner died in the caves? Did he die in the house? Did Vladimir eventually catch him in a lie that made him disappear for some odd reason? Let me know in the comments below what you think, because I think he died in the house, because there's a weird situation happening in Forgotten Hollow that I think we all need to investigate a little bit further to uncover the truth about the true vampires, the original vampires of Forgotten Hollow, how they came to be, and what was the real reason why these Sims disappeared for a reason. Did they disappear through death? Did they disappear through magic from like the realm of magic of the wonderful world of, I don't know, because I cannot name that world at all. It's the world that came with realm of magic, but it's like, when you think about it, there's a lot of mystery with The Sims 4. There could be lore, but we just don't know what the lore is unless we uncover it. Glimmerbrook. Glimmerbrook is the world that has all the magic. So either Vladimir was working with someone in Glimmerbrook at the time during the late 1930s to conjure up a disappearing spell to make the founders disappear, or he just bit them all with his vampire senses, those things. So Glimmerbrook has history, Forgotten Hollow has mystery, Strangerville has mystery. Like, we just don't know. Or did the mother eat them? I don't know. I just don't know. Only time will tell. But that being said, I think what I want to do for the future is definitely kind of continue on with the story to uncover the truth of Alex Wagner and maybe build like an underground cave of like for Halloween, because like the skeletons we have in Build and Buy, but also kind of like go deeper into the story to see what I can come up with. Because if you don't know, these stories are not real. I just literally just talk and words come out, and I just think of an idea for a story and just roll with it for like 20 minutes. So if it makes no sense, that's totally fine. I will still expand on the nonsense of my Sims 4 game that makes no sense half the time. But I think I'm definitely going to build an underground cave of some sort. Like, I'll use one of the caves from Debug that I use on the outside of this build, and maybe like I don't know. I just want to make something unique and different, because I never really ever build underground, and I kind of want to do something like spooky related for Halloween, but like not on Halloween day, but something like spooky around that idea. But if you want to watch a build that I did not too long ago, I think 3 years ago, I'm pretty sure, 3 or 2 years ago, probably around that time, I did a build challenge by Holly BB, and it was like a really cool challenge that she did, where if you like let's say you roll a 6, you have to do that theme. And I think I rolled like a number 2, and that theme was Horrifying Hotel. And I knew for a fact, because back then we did have the Vampire Game Pack, and I knew what I wanted, and I knew how I was going to make it work. That build took me 13 hours to do. 13 hours to build, because I had to put in 3 different floors. So it was a 4-story hotel, and it had so much clutter that it was insane. I probably won't do it again because that build took me way too long to do, but I do want to do some type of like haunted mansion type of build this year, because I tend to do it every single year where I build a haunted mansion. Now that I have like better building skills and I know what I want in a horrifying build, I could definitely make it work. And I want to see what I can definitely come up with. So if you have any like horrifying Halloween build ideas that you want me to do here on Twitch or on YouTube, let me know in the comments below, or let me know in the Discord, because we have a Discord channel, if you didn't know. And I think that definitely this year we're going to be getting a lot of new surprises when it comes to build and buy, especially when it comes to new packs being released, new updates. And I think it's going to be for the best. Like 2020 is like already a emotional roller coaster, but for the Sims, also an emotional roller coaster, but we're getting like new and better things that can make us think outside of the box and do things that we haven't done before, like this. Like I never really will ever build, like I've never built a house that was elevated off of the ground before, because I never really thought I could do it. And I was always scared of like terrain tools and using, the foundation, or like not using the foundation, or lifting the build off the ground of any kind. So I never really knew what to do. And I think this was the first of many that I'm going to definitely do in the future for sure. But that being said, I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video right here. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know down in the comments below as always, and I will see you guys all in the next video. Bye!